Show me, when are we getting PSL?
You didn't trust us, did you? You thought it's about England and the Premier League.
Wonderful finish from Phil Foden.
No. Let me tell you, PSL is going to be live on Showmax. Whether userenkini, usekhaya, usesikoleni, usebhedlela, kuphi na kuphi lapho nikhona, it's going to be happening for everyone, everywhere. Football.
It best fly.
So sign up and stream the PSL live on Showmax. It's only 69 Rand.
We'll start with the big one, of course. It's Orlando Pirates taking on Stellenbosch in the MTN8 Final. We understand that Orlando Pirates has some injury concerns. Monapule Saleng was in there at Richards Bay. Olisanda was in there at Richards Bay. And on the side of Stellenbosch, they were clever enough as well to play Dino van Rooyen in the early stages of the MTN8. Now, that means Dino van Rooyen will not be able to play for Orlando Pirates. Let's preview that then, Lindo. Let's talk about Orlando Pirates, the players that are possibly going to be missing in that.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting game, a very tactical game. I think, Kulego, it's good to mention that Orlando Pirates did not win against the Stellenbosch last season. I think that's the first foundation first. I think they played the first game, Stellenbosch won 1-0, and then played the two games in the MTN8. It's funny because Nkulego, they never even won there. They actually went through to the final through an away goal.
Yeah, it was a draw in the draw. I remember Umthetho was still part of Stellenbosch at the
Actually,
time.
Orlando Pirates won 2-1 away.
Sure.
And the Stellenbosch beat them
1-0.
1-0 at Orlando Stadium.
Yeah.
And then came back again in a league game where Orlando Pirates, that's the only game, Nkulego, actually that they led in the first half. Other than that, Stellenbosch always goes into the halftime with a lead. They came back into that game. Orlando Pirates was leading. Stellenbosch won the game 3-2. That was the last game. Beat them home and away last season in the league. Total dominance from Stellenbosch with regards to this fixture. But you cannot isolate the fact that this is a big final. And looking at the Orlando Pirates and with their form, they've got an incredible stat of playing 30 games and winning 20 games and conceding something like 7 goals. You know, I don't know. I'm not sure. I think I might be corrected with the stat. But what I'm trying to say is they've been incredible in the last 18 months, in the last 12 months.
Especially in cup competitions.
In cup competition. Most important player that came back into the team was Olisanda.
Let's talk about that because Mandla Ncigazi has said to the media, to ourselves, that Monapule Saleng is not going to be there. Olisanda, well, he didn't say he's not going to be there. He said they haven't been training. Olisanda and Saleng, they have not been training.
Yep.
And they will be facing late fitness tests. Do you have an update to that? Have you seen that anywhere?
Yeah, I was actually watching the pictures yesterday while they were training. I saw him. He was there jumping and moving nicely, Nkulego. You know, moving very nicely. People were worried as well about Tutito Maswangai. We saw he's playing with a hamstring injury. Sure. He looks good, jumping and moving, doing a lot of short sprints in training. The only player that's not there, Nkulego, was Umunapale Saleng. And he's huge for them, we know. He scores big goals for them. You know, very, very important player for them. But there's another thing that we know, Nkulego, in football, that he might not be on the pitch because it was a media day. He might be training somewhere indoors, doing a lot of gym work because we know he's struggling from an injury as well. I think there will be a late fitness test there. Whether he makes it or not, I'm not sure. But I think let's
revisit last week, Richards Bay, Orlando Pirates. There was no Ndah, there was no Saleng. What did that game tell us about the importance of these players? Imagine if Maswanganyi wasn't there as well, what it was even going to be worse. The importance of these players when they're not there, how do Orlando Pirates look and shape like?
Nkulego, mostly Ndah helps them in their build-up process. And also in the build-up process with the ball. He's responsible because how Orlando Pirates plays, Nkulego, it's a very interesting detail. And we were talking about it last week. Oketheni Makaula, he plays there to bring control and stability, protect your back four, get in between those two center backs. Because if you can check, Nkulego, when they're defending, when they lose the ball, Ndah is normally on the left to cover that left-hand side.
Sure.
Usesane is on the right. But when they played against the Richards Bay, this was a huge problem and you started identifying it. Because Uhoto normally goes up, occupying the wide channel. And then now the cover was Umayela. Umayela's got a terrible recovery run, which is where Ndah is influential for Orlando Pirates. Reads the game very well. Uyakwazi ukudila nama counter-attack transitions, but also he's a good tackler. Good number 1v1, helps them in that department. On the ball, Nkulego, helps them in the build-up process, in the consolidation phase. How? Orlando Pirates, they always play after the initial press, after the first line of confrontation. So they don't collect the ball on the build-up phase. They allow Sipo China to come in as a libero in between the two center backs, wait for the press. After the press, Abomakaula, they receive behind the press and progress the game now. So for me, that's where Ndah is crucial because after that press, Nkulego, this is what's important and it's a quality of a player. you need a player that can play a 30-meter pass accurate and proper. We call it a deep pass. Undah's one of the responsibilities of Anai Sesane is to be creative, deep playing playmakers at the back.
Yeah.
They find both wingers because they try and isolate those wingers ngama fullback, right? So in instance, you will find the Saleng to play quicker in terms of passing precision. Usesane will find the Mfukeng. Now, this is where Saleng is important. You are bringing in a Monyane. Something that we spoke about. Utino van Rooyen cannot play.
So we're sure that Munyan is coming in. I think, did he play the last game, or do we know if Ulibitso is good, is fit enough?
Ulibitso is actually not fit enough to start.
Okay.
But there's two options that they have there in that position. And it's a tactical thing that they have to go with. It's either they introduce, in the last 2 games, they've introduced Tusibis and Kosinatis Bis, an international
yes,
player
I've seen,
as well.
yeah.
Maybe they might be thinking, deal with a Mujela if they use a Mujela on the left because of his speed.
Yeah, but there's a mismatch in pace. If you're matching Sibisi and Mujela, there's a mismatch in pace there.
Yeah, maybe the thinking would be add an extra centre back to give them cover to have a 3 and then allow Hoto to go and then have Umakaula in the hole. Or they can use a Monyane. But now, for me, Nkulego, this is where when we speak about the Stellenbosch, Imbobo Pirates, in my opinion, is on the right-hand side of their defense. Between Usesane, no, Monyane. If they do use Monyane on that right-hand side, Monyane's quality is a box-to-box fullback. Very good with playing in between our boxes in Kulego. Maybe what he can improve is the quality in the box and his recovery run in terms of dealing with 1v1 situation.
Yeah, being a defender. More than anything else, being a defender.
More especially in Kulego when he's facing a speedy winger. Remember, pace is an advantage in football.
Yeah.
So when he meets a winger that has pace, he struggles a lot. My opinion, you use a Mujela on the left-hand side of his Stellenbosch to attack that right-hand side defense, Orlando Pirates. I think that's where they are vulnerable, in my opinion. Got bullied Usesane by Figueiredo against the Richards Bay. We saw that. I think that's another thing Steve Barker needs to identify. More especially with the analyst. Yeah. Isolate, bring them to one side, shift them to the side. Maybe Gamloisana, play a diagonal ball to Muchela. Muchela must arrive and reach that ball behind Usesane, behind Umonyane when they vacate that space.
Yeah, we spoke about the players and some of the key players for Orlando Pirates who are unfit, maybe will play as well. Do you think there's a risk in playing Ndah and also Saleng if they pass a late fitness test? Of course, they're good players. I think they're the most important players. I think if you're counting, you say Maswanganyi, you will say Mufukeng, you will say Ndah, and you will also say Saleng. Those 4 are the top 4, maybe include China as well.
For sure.
So it's not a risk. We know what they are. It's a risk that the last time they played was over 2 weeks ago and then they're coming back in the final. Do you think there's any risk factor in your opinion?
This is a big game. It's a final. Orlando Pirates is a big team. For me, there's consistency there. I think they missed, one game, if I'm not mistaken.
They missed Richards Bay only.
Yeah, only. Yeah. So I think they are. I think actually against the Richards Bay, coaches are very tactical, more especially with these big clubs.
Sure.
You might find out in Kulego that they were saving them actually for the final. Even if you can check the mentality of the Stellenbosch players, check the mentality of the Orlando Pirates players, even against the Richards Bay, they were playing the final, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think Bobo made that point.
Yeah,
and it was a great point that they were looking forward to the final already.
Yeah, they were playing the final. So I'm looking at Ndah. I think they will use Ndah. Ndah is one of their captains in the team. Might not be a senior player as yet, but in terms of stature, in terms of personality, in terms of leadership qualities, I think he's one of their seniors, he's one of their captains. Very important for them. Like I said, Nkolego, in the build-up, is going to help them, more especially with how Stellenbosch plays. Badlala, a lot of direct football. I understand, Nkolego, a lot of rep, a lot of pace, a lot of quickness in their game. So you need someone who's going to police.
Yeah, but on that question though, specifically, there's no risk, in your opinion, of bringing back Saleng, Ndah for the final.
I think you start them, Nkolego. You start them. Saleng, what it gives you, Saleng, is to create an extra man in midfield, more especially giving Umonyane that line. He comes in next to Tito. What Saleng gives you as well is the threat, Nkolego. He provides a threat. He gives them this dimension of having a left footer on the right, which means they're going to be unpredictable as well in terms of how they attack. He might occupy the wide channel, try and cut in, play a reverse pass to Monyane, or cut in for himself, play a 1-2 Nomabasa. He scored that goal against the Chiefs last season. Or cut in, play a deep pass to Mfukeng. So he's got options. The
interesting thing about him as well is that he's no longer just a number 7. you find him on the left-hand side with Unmufukeng. I don't know how they work it out, but it seems to work as well. If you remember the opening goal against Polokwane City, I mean, with coaching, we know as coaches that we never allow two wingers occupying the same space, but they find a way to make it work. And I think it's a good thing for Saleng not to tie himself with only one position when he's playing.
Yeah, actually, what I realized with the tactical structure, more especially with the introduction of Carlos Paez, which is the assistant coach, is they've moved to this flat the 6 that they use, or flat 8 you can call it, because actually what I said is they want to play behind the press. So what happens is that they actually don't need two wingers. They would actually have one winger and the one fullback on the wide channels, more especially in the assist zone. They actually don't need two. So what happens is that one of the wingers' responsibility is to come in to create a double number 10. But mostly when they play in position of the ball, more especially when they're playing against a low block, this is what the system they apply. They want to attack with 6 players. How do they attack with 6 players? They bring in the two wingers inside into the half space. And then Utito would have a responsibility sometimes of initiating a play and collecting it deep next to Umbata. Or that responsibility would be given to Kabelo Dlamini to say, drop and Ulandele and connect as pull. So that's why you will find Usaling Guma half space. So now when you get into a half space, more especially in the assist zone, when you want to break the low block, what is the first responsibility and the detail is stretch the defense. So you want to play the ball wide. So now when you take the ball wide, what do you need? What do Grealish has Manchester City? You want to drag them to the side like ball alcon. Patience, attract the first fullback to come to you. Then now when you open that space in between the fullback and the centre back, now that's the run that you need from Saleng. That's the run you need from Mfukeng. That's how he scored his goal against the Polokwane.
Yeah.
He waited for that run, took that decision, in behind if he in front of the centre back, and then I chip up his goalkeeper. So that's why I think he's making those movements. They are trying to break a low block because they're playing against a lot of low blocks this season. But also what's important is they're looking for unpredictability and also an exciting football in terms of how they attack the last line.
Yeah, Stellenbosch. Sage Stevens, incredible improvement. I don't think I've seen such levels of improvement. He was almost like a joke in terms of the kind of goals he used to concede. He was a liability. We were questioning, why is he playing professional football? Although that sounds harsh, but if you had seen some of the mistakes that he was making regularly, now I think even they asked Hugo Bros about him. I think that's over the top though. But they asked him. He's improved so much that they are now able to ask the national team coach about Sage Stevens. What do you make of his improvement? Can you notice the improvement?
You know what? This Sage Stevens topic is actually a very interesting one.
Yeah.
Because I was very critical of him. I said last season, and I'm going to own it, Nkulego. I said he's the weakest link with Stellenbosch, in my opinion.
Once upon a time.
He was once upon a time. I said, Nkulego, the last piece of that puzzle, yes, Stellenbosch, is the goalkeeper. I've said so many times, but I'm going to come because, Nkulego, football is a game of relations, like we spoke about. It's a game of helping one another with people having the same goal in the team. And I'm going to be very, very brutal honest, Nkulego. I haven't profiled him proper because I'm obsessed with profiling players. Because I said this season when we started, I don't want to overly judge and criticize players or overly praise players early.
Too early, yeah.
Too early. I watched him for 2 games, more especially yesterday, really wanted to profile him because people actually are saying he's the 4th best goalkeeper in the country.
It's an argument that can be made.
It's an argument. That's why they're even
made. If you say Ronan Williams and then you say Sipochaine, Ricardo Kos, then the number 4 is very debatable. You can squeeze in anyone else at the number 4 and you could include Sage as well. It's not an outrageous debate.
Yeah. Nkulego, he's a shot stopper. He's improved in terms of his handling. That's the first thing. He's improved in terms of his positioning. Very important. He doesn't have the height. And also what was negative about his game and something that is improved, which is huge, the Stellenbosch game. I think that's why Steve Barker went for taller defenders, is that he was struggling on a set piece. He used to cost them on a set piece. I think he's now braver in terms of how he attacks the ball in the box. I think he owns his box positioning, his handling. But I think what is improved in Nkulego, something that we don't talk about, and credit to him for this, is his technical ability. It's not there in the ability or the capacity of Sipochaine, Ricardo Kos,
Ronan Williams,
but there's an improvement there.
Yeah. And also, I was thinking about the technical team that there must be surely, because we always attribute it to the goalkeeper coach, and I was thinking that surely Aboli Langeveld, who's also the reserve goalkeeper and the captain of the team, and whoever else is the goalkeeper coach there, we should find that out.
Yeah.
That they need to get credit as well. Because sometimes when players are hopeless, they are hopeless. Sometimes when we judge players, we look at them and we say, this is you. This is what you will always be. You cannot trap the ball. You cannot pass the ball. I'm talking about infield players. And we are harsh when we judge them because that's our job. We have to judge them. Even the people who are watching at home have to judge them one way or another. When we strike us, in. With Sage, we judged him and we thought, okay, that's the end of him. I did not anticipate that it would start improving like this. He's not a world-class goalkeeper, but for what he was 2 years ago, it is remarkable to see that growth.
Yeah, Nkulego, credit to the goalkeeper coaches, but credit to him, Nkulego, for also wanting to improve as a player, because that's important. The discipline to always wake up every day as a professional footballer, to wanting to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, understanding who you're competing with as well. I think credit to him, credit to the goalkeeper coaches as well. And Nkulego, I think conditioning wise as well, credit to about Ryan Rust as well. I think they're working very hard in Stellenbosch in training.
Yeah.
I think he looks really thin in terms of his body. He looks very energetic as well.
Sure.
In terms of his passing, credit to him, credit to the technical team and the goalkeeper coaches.
All right, let's wrap it up then. Key players for Stellenbosch and lead us to a prediction for the final as well.
Key players for me, in my opinion, is going to be Islam Torre. It's going to be very important for them in their consolidation phase. Usage Stevens, in games like this, Nkulego, you need a goalkeeper to make 3-4 saves, top saves for them to win the game. If they are to win the game, Steve Barker has to go to the changing room and speak to Stevens and says to him, Ngwenya, you're going to have to make 4 big saves for us to win these games. That means the goalkeeper is important, Toure is important. Another player who's important for them is Usiponduli, in my opinion. And I'll segregate Jaden Adams, because we always talk about Jaden. But for me, Usiponduli, this is a game, Kulego, where he needs to show. He needs to own that game. He needs to control the game. If he wants a big move, if we are rating him and talking about him as the next one in the national team who's knocking on the door in terms of that 6th position, for me, this is the right game where he has to show my capabilities. So it's a big game for Siponduli, very important for them. But now, I think the game plan of Stellenbosch will be around Devin Titus, not Dion Hoto. I think they're going to target Dion Hoto. If they don't, then Umuchela is going to be key for them. But the wingers that are going to play for Stellenbosch tomorrow are going to be key based on a game of the Orlando Pirates and them trying to attack them a full back.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
I'm expecting them to bring in a Jabba. I don't know whether they'll play Ashley Cupido Nkulego. Because for me, I thought to myself when I was thinking about
Andre de Jong is definitely going to be there.
He's going to be there as a number 10.
De Jong, yeah.
But now I was thinking about it to say Steve Barker is a tactical coach. He might use Andre de Jong as a false 9. Yeah, and you know why, Nkulego? Because remember the goal that Usesane struggled with Nomonyan when they played with Bradley Khot. While the ball was traveling in there, Usesane saw that ball and he changed his mind. Bradley Khot headed that ball, Vincent Pula, Punisher in the box. I think they can use Andre de Jong that way, but he's also good with his feet finding the final pass. But I think they should use Muchela on the left-hand side, cutting in, taking diagonal runs to attack the box.
He's got a beautiful goal against Polokwane City. I was watching that game on Sunday. It ended 1-1. Beautiful goal. Cut into his right-hand side, and then he hit it, finessed it. Score prediction for the final.
Score prediction for the final? A simple one. Stellenbosch goes into halftime leading 1-0, Nkulego. Orlando Pirates comes into the second half, makes changes, scores the equalizer. The game gets into extra time. Orlando Pirates, because of the fans, they score the second goal and they win the final.
All right, there you go. Orlando Pirates 2, Stellenbosch 1.
Orlando Pirates 2, Stellenbosch 1.
There you go. Orlando Pirates winning the MTN8 final for the 3rd time in a row. That's according to Lindo Pep.